Hi, everyone. Welcome to our second segment of Women Who Inspire. And I'm so honored to have with me Eileen Cavanaugh, who's a great friend of mine, an amazing mentor of mine, a woman I really admire and look up to, and have had the opportunity to sit in many circles with. I'm just so happy to have her with us today from my old hometown, Ojai, California. And we're just going to have a really casual, fun conversation. And so with that, I'd love to open the space. And Eileen, maybe if you could tell us just a little bit about yourself, what brought you to Ojai and the creation of Palomar Farms.
Thanks. Palomar Farm, I think, was a calling that I had in like 2014. I was contemplating leaving my marriage. And as you know, that's a very scary thing when you've been married for so long. And I had 3 children, and it wasn't something I took very lightly. I struggled with it a lot in my 40s. I felt like there was more calling me, but I just didn't know how to break free. So in my writing circle in 2014, I did this series of writing with Janet Lucy, and it was called The Heroine's Journey. And so in The Heroine's Journey, we're asked to hear a call and also take on other dream a life, like if you could be somebody, what would you be? And I think one of the things was like a jazz singer. And I was like, well, I don't know if that's really what I want to do. But then the other one was like a farmer. And I was thinking, gosh, a farmer, I don't know anything about farming. I can't even grow a flower from a seed. But there was something calling me, that life. And so when I was finally strong enough to leave my marriage, I spent like a year thinking and dreaming, where would I want to live? And Ojai was very close to the old town that I was in, but far enough away to start new. And I found this house, and little by little, these giant oak trees fell. I lost about 4 on the front property. And so all of this sunlight just opened up, and so it made room to grow flowers. And I guess it was just like, it really happened organically. It's not like I had this plan. This is what I'm going to do. It just sort of like, I kept listening to my inner callings, my inner knowing. And so little by little, I planted tiny gardens. I didn't make huge commitments. I just started small. And then I really got called to learn how to grow from seed. In 2018, I took a course with Palomar Farm, and she does an online course to garden and grow flowers on small property. And I just started then. So it's been about 6 years that I've been here, and 5 years that I've been growing the seeds. So.
Yeah, it's so amazing for those listening, for many reasons. One, I feel especially, there's not many people that I know that don't have a resonance with flowers or with plants, when you're in that environment. And I know for myself, your space just really feels like home. And it's not just because of the beauty of it, but because of like the caretaking of Gaia, of the earth. And yeah, these flowers growing from the seed, I've been able to share in many circles we've done together, circles that you've hosted me as a participant in, and then our children, running around Palomar Farm, which is just, I feel so special. And I love how you talk about from seed to celebration. And maybe you could share that with everyone, what that means.
From seed to celebration, it's basically just, we have ideas, we have callings, and to nurture that idea or that calling. And for me, it literally became a seed, so I'm a pretty literal person. So I just started to grow these seeds, and but to watch the seed and the process of growing a flower, and it's just such a metaphor for life, for how to live a life authentically, and to know that life is full of ups and downs and curves, and um, it's not all sunshine. Sometimes there's a drought, sometimes there's heavy winds or a fire, but all of it alchemizes into medicine. All of it becomes like, it's a cycle. I just feel like the cycle of the seed, you have, it's just like the rose, it's bud to bloom to potpourri. It's all beautiful. And like the life cycle of a woman, it's the maiden, the mother, whether you're a mother or not, you're still in that creative zone of your life. And then you become, I call it the magic, from when it's like from 50 to 70. And then after the magic, it's, I call her wisdom, because you're the wise one, you're the elder. And so all of these stages are so beautiful, and there's something to celebrate, but our society really kind of throws us away after we're 50. Even my dad, when he knew I was going to get a divorce, he's like, "How old are you?" And I was like 48. He goes, "Oh, you'll never find a man," and that's just the old patriarchal,
yeah,
vision of a woman's worth, is she's just kind of like used up by 50, forget about it. Who are you kidding? So there was that fear, but I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent, but it's all related.
No, I think it's all part of the whole,
Mhm.
when we consider living a life where it's our message, I think that that's really what you're doing, from like dirtying the hands, putting the seed in, having an understanding that it all is not going to come up beautified.
Mhm.
I love some of your stories around like, the ground, whoever ate
The
it all.
gophers, yes, four of my beds. Every season, you have a vision of your garden, and every season there's something, some new villain, whether it's the rabbits or the gophers, or the drought, or some insect, some beetle. Yeah, so you just can't even imagine, but that's life, isn't it? Like we were living, and who knew about the pandemic? What these things just come up. So it really does teach you to detach, not get so attached to your vision of how you see your garden, because one year I grew tons of zinnias and they were so easy to grow, and the next year there was some mysterious worm that was eating them from inside their bud. So it's just, the last year I couldn't grow phlox, and this year they're growing, and but this year every larkspur got eaten by the gophers. So you just can't predict. You just have to kind of roll with it.
And I think it's such a great testament of like just letting go,
Mhm.
surrendering, but still following the call, still, because it takes a certain level of resilience, commitment in order to do that. And I know what we've talked a little bit about too is making sure that you're finding the right balance for yourself, with the right self-care practices, and, letting go in other ways as well.
Letting go of perfection, for sure.
Mm,
I'm a recovered perfectionist. I'm not sure if I'm recovered, but I'm recovering. And I think that's also really, really something important to remember, that it's not going to be perfect. And if you're waiting around for the perfect time to do something, or, oh, it's just, you just won't do it. I think that's really important when you're a creative person. You don't have to know how you're going to do it. You just have to know, you have to hold the vision. And then everything else will fill in,
mm,
it just does. And what you thought perhaps was the vision will take a little turn and adjust, because it's what your soul, your soul knows what it needs. So I don't particularly think I'm a flower farmer, like I'm supposed to be a farmer for the rest of my life. And that's another thing I had to kind of let go of. It's like, oh, okay, I've had so many hats in this life. And, some people are like a brain surgeon their whole life, or a lawyer, but I've just done so many different things, and I felt like I had to fit into this one label, and it's just impossible. So
And I love, I mean, one thing that I've really taken from you is just connecting into, as a yogi, I know how to connect into my creative self, and work with like that energy or that field of energy. But then to really, bring it out onto, we will use writing as an example because that's what I really want to talk to you about, but
yeah.
bringing it out onto the paper. And it's amazing from what comes out onto the paper, what then actually materializes, I
Oh
think,
yeah,
on into this realm.
absolutely. Yeah. What materializes on the paper is your soul's desire, and it's your soul's purpose. And it is your true compass. And it's a whispering. And that's why we have to dedicate this practice to hear our soul's truth, because there's so much noise out there, and so many shoulds, and so many people's opinions, that it's very essential to find a practice where you can just sit down and dedicate that time, whether it's 2.5 hours once a week, or every morning for your morning papers, which I don't do, but just to have your journal, just to really allow that time for it to come forth. And most of the women in the circle are like, I don't know what I just wrote. And we always have a thing where, we say no disclaimers, because none of us really know what we wrote. There's no time to edit. And now the disclaimer is just chocolate. So everyone's like, chocolate. So it's cute.
No, and I love that. I just hosted my first circle, which was amazing. And I would love for you to talk just a little bit about like kind of what, not only what emerges, but like how it works.
Mhm.
Because of course the witnessing piece is
Mm.
also so transformational, and something I think as women we're not doing enough of,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
learned this from you, and I really would love for you to share.
Well, I learned this from my mentor, Janet Lucy, who is such a generous woman. And she,
Mhm.
I started in her group in 2014, um, it's been the most transformational practice, aside from, Kundalini yoga, or, but this is really something that you can do forever. And I think the witnessing part is the special part, because I think we are our own gurus. We know, each one of us knows what's really true for ourselves, and nobody else can really tell us what our personal medicine is. And to be witnessed is so sacred. It's nobody's fixing you, nobody's really judging you. They may be in their mind, but they're not allowed to say it. So yeah, you're just, and just to be heard and held. It's such a tribal, sacred practice. I just also, there's no hierarchy, so we're all equal. It's not like I know more than the women that are in the circle. I'm just a facilitator. So I create the safe space for somebody to come in and feel safe enough to write. And that is the number one thing that Janet taught me, was that you have to create a safe space and have boundaries, and keep the time, you're the timekeeper, because it can become very quickly a runaway train. Yeah, so it's an art to holding that space for people.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. I often say, like, as we hold, we're held. And I just really feel that in these spaces,
Mhm.
as we share writing as like our creative expression. And, so often, I've set as a participant, and some people might be writing a book, and
Yeah.
others are just showing up to release and to see like what's in there, as I check into myself this week.
Yeah.
So it's really such a beautiful, way by which, with the circle, there's endings, there's beginnings. And I love too what you're offering, 'cause that is the times, like there's no hierarchy here.
Mhm,
We're
mhm,
all in this,
mhm.
and holding for each other.
Yeah. And you mentioned some people are writing a book, or and then somebody will come that's never written ever.
Yes.
And that's what I love, because you'll have this eloquent writer that has this muse that shows up in the circle, and we're all just like riveted. But at the same time, we're riveted by the woman who's for the first time really discerning what's her truth, what her truth. I mean, that's almost to me more compelling and exciting. I love it. I love that.
Yes.
When I can sense a woman's voice getting stronger and stronger, and her knowing, and she's more confident, but it builds. The first time she comes, she may be terrified. And I was like, oh God, what am I doing here? I'm not a writer, all the critics and come out. And then little by little, you're like, I don't even care how I sound. It doesn't matter, because that's not what this is about. I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm not here to prove that I'm a great writer. I'm here to listen to my soul and
Mhm.
be held by these other women. So,
I feel personally too, that's why it's had so much resonance for me, in Kundalini yoga, like that, the Satnam, like your truth is your true identity.
mhm,
And it's like this beautiful, especially in these circles with women, this beautiful feminine way
mhm.
to really unfold the truth and then allow it to come forth.
Yeah. It's like I always think we're midwifing each other.
Oh,
We're,
I love
we're
that.
we're midwifing our own rebirth, because
Mhm.
I do believe we have many lives within our lifetime. And especially, we go through phases as we're shifting from mother to magic or maga. We, uh, we're shifting and we become something different. Yes, we have our essential nature, but there's a new person wanting to be birthed. And so this circle does nurture that and nourish that. And yes, we have younger maidens who are not mothers in it. And then the elder women are there to hold her in
Mhm.
her shift from the maiden to the mother. She's wanting to become the mother. She's getting stronger to know, well, what does she want to create in this life? And, so I love the mixed age group as well,
Me
because
too. With anything, just having all phases and stages of woman
Mhm.
is just so powerful. And again, I think something that has been lost, that we're just now like bringing back and reemerging. And I know your mother also lives at Palomar Farm, and
Yeah.
you've had all all generations, which is inspiring to me too, and I'm sure to many people listening.
Yeah, a lot of people are like, oh God, I could never have my mother live with me. And and I can appreciate that, because I had a mother-in-law that I don't think I could have ever lived with. But um, you know, my mom just happens to be one of those women, and that my partner actually invited her. He's crazy, but he did. And we've just had a wonderful time. Yes, she's been sick a lot, but she's given so much to this place. She's helped me tremendously, and I don't know what I'm going to do when she passes. We talk about this. We're very open about the
Mhm.
fact that these are her end years, and I'm not in denial, and she isn't either. I mean, she's one of those women that's like, she's already paid for the Neptune Society to like for
Yeah.
her funeral. I mean, it's kind of insane.
It's that practical Midwest.
She's like, I'll get they're gonna come by with the broom and sweep me up. I don't know, but I'm blessed to have a wonderful mom, and I love having her here. And then my partner has a 10-year-old. So I have three children of my own, and then we have every other week a little girl, the resident artist, coming here as well. And so yeah, from 10 to 84.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I mean, you feel the nurturing there of, and again, like I just want to emphasize too, of the earth also, like this honoring of the greatest mother, Gaia, like
Yeah.
when on your property and when in your being, and then these different ages and the phases of life represented. And it's really beautiful. I loved not only being a participant, but bringing women together at the space. It's really what it's meant for, I feel.
I feel like this place definitely chose me. I chose it. It was for sale like in November, and my friend who's a realtor, she said, "Oh, it'll sell. It'll be gone by the time you're going to be able to buy." And then I bought this in the spring, and it was cheaper, like 100,000 lower than the asking. And I was like, "Wow, okay, it's here. I can do this." So it definitely, it holds the people that come. I think she used to have a sweat lodge here and hold ceremonies. So there's something really special
And
about,
sacred.
yeah, sacred. And then we've had our wonderful circles here.
Oh, I mean, amazing. I mean, I have some
Yeah.
of my favorite memories in
Mhm.
Ojai are within your space. We've had just
Yeah.
amazing times together, and just seeing. I love too when you go in the winter and everything's dead, and then the
Mhm.
spring everything's like in abundance, and then the sun, it's beautiful. It's like what we are sharing right now and what you've shared. It really is, your life is your message.
Yeah.
When you relate it back to the garden, I mean, you really not only feel it, but you can visually see and witness that.
Yeah. I'm living the metaphor.
You are, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know how long I can do it. It's exhausting, but it's wonderful. And I'm trying to lose the perfectionist and still appreciate, have the gratitude for the things that are working, because it's definitely not pretty every day. It's work, and it can be tiring for a 55-year-old. So
Well,
yeah.
it's a lot of hard work, and I love it. And again, like this, like we'll see what else opens up. Initially you wrote about the farmer, and here you are, and
Yes. Yeah.
what else is possible in this kind of infinite universe here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to write a book, and
Mm.
Janet always says, "Well, you're living your book right now, Eileen." And I'm thinking, well, I think she's absolutely right. I am definitely living the book. And sometimes that's true. If you have something, you may have many books inside you, but there's divine timing. That's
Mm.
another thing to remember. So that was my big vision. I've wanted to write this book for like 8 years, but it's becoming something. It's becoming what it wants to become. And so that's where trust is my number one tool
Mm.
in my life. Trust in the divine, that there is a plan that's working much higher than what I could ever imagine. It's
Mm.
all divinely inspired, and to get out of the way, not be so attached or controlling over how it should be, let go.
You model that just
Mhm.
beautifully, and I know it's not always easy, but overall, just such, I think, a beautiful model of that. um, and that expression of the feminine, because that too is like such a deep expression of the feminine, that I think in society we're looking more for, this kind of innate balance between the masculine and the feminine, and like really allowing that to come forth.
Yeah, so different than the forcing and the control. It's
Absolutely.
receiving, like be open to receive what's coming, what wants to come,
Yes.
so
who have been, I know you've mentioned Janet a couple times, would you like to share maybe a book or a couple teachers that have been inspiring for you on your path?
I would say this one, Eileen
I
Patty.
know that one. That's
And
very
this is like probably my fifth edition. I always joke. I think I dropped one in the toilet once. So it's called Opening Doors Within, and she was a co-founder of the Findhorn community in Scotland, and I love her because she had a life. She was a wife and a mother, and then she left that marriage back when you don't do things like that, and they completely excommunicated her, and then she started this community, but she was following her heart. She was following her inner voice. It was called The Little Voice Within. And I think this book has really been, I just open it up and I ask like what I need to know. And she's really full of wisdom. And yes, Janet Lucy is one of my mentors for sure. She's one of my recent mentors. Over the last 8 years, she's really held my hand through all these changes, I think, and inspired me, and, really offered up freedom and that I'm worthy, of this freedom, worthy of the life I dream. And so I love that. I feel really grateful for her in my life. And then I think my children are really my greatest teachers, because they have taught me patience and absolute, like, what is it? Patience and unconditional love. Yeah. Unconditional love. I will love my children no matter what they do. Yeah.
And you do. And I feel that vibration within your environment. I know your one daughter you hadn't seen with COVID for over 2.5 years as she was out of the country. But it's like you still feel that presence of your children in your home, which I think is really, is there more in adulting now, but you can still, feel, and I feel that just within your space, it's a welcoming space.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's filled with their art. So their art is, I think my children's art is the most, it just touches my heart so much. I love kids' art. It's so innocent and, it's just not contrived. It's free. And I love that. I think children are so unedited. And I think working with your inner child as an adult is really powerful work. And I did a lot of that intuitively. When I moved to Ojai, I was like, who am I? I don't know who I am right now. I was like a caterpillar turning to mush, before the butterfly. And I just looked at this little drawing that I had of myself as a little girl. I think I was maybe 5 or 6. And I was just like, who is she? Who were you before you were told who to be? What is your spirit? Why are you here? Because we all have a purpose, every single one of us. And it's like no two snowflakes are alike. We each have a gift. And I believe our true thing that we have to do, that we're here living on this earth, is to tap into what is that, to find out what is our gift, what is my unique gift, what and how can I share that and help make this world a better place. So
I love that. I have big visions about more of a gift society. And again, I feel you are an example to modeling that, just with the space, with the circles, beautifying from outside and within, and creating that is part of your gift, and then sharing that. And I love that. And I think that's a message for all of us women. to really connect fully and deeply to our gifts. What are the modalities like the writing, like a meditation practice, whatever it is that helps you unleash your potential?
Mhm.
Because as we unleash, these gifts just keep giving not only to us, but then to everyone around us.
Yeah. I
And
told God, I said, please, if you let me have this space, this house, Palomar Farm, and I still say this, I promise I will share this. I promise
mm,
I will give, give and share because
mm,
it's not for me. I'm just a steward. And so is Ty, my partner. We're
mhm,
stewards here. And I mean, I rent part of the land to a
mm,
young couple. They're adventurers and they live here. And then I have another person that I rent out space to. And I like that. I feel like we have this little mini commune.
yes.
It feels really like I am sharing. I am sharing it with the children, with the women that come to the writing circle, and I share the flowers. They're not just for me; they're for everybody.
Well,
So,
and that's one thing as we start to conclude, how can people like learn more about you, connect with you, whether it's just to get a bouquet or maybe to inquire more about the writing circles?
just my website. It's palomarfarm.com, and you can contact me and just write a personal message, and I'll hopefully get back to you. It's
Well,
pretty simple.
I love that. I'll put that in for everyone to share. And then also your Instagram, I think is a way just
Oh
to
yeah.
kind of get to know you also a little bit.
Mhm.
Because you have some of your, yeah, you're sharing there as well.
Yes, that's true. Instagram is Palomar Farm. Um, and yeah, I live my life out loud. Unfortunately for some people, but think I think it's pretty. I like to be very real and inspire people with beauty, but also with truth. And so, yeah,
That's
that's
great. I think another way for people to connect and um yeah, just to get to know you, especially those I know my audience that are not like in Ojai, that
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
kind of like all over. Um, but I just want to conclude by just thanking you, Eileen, so much for your friendship,
Thank you.
first and foremost. And then for all that you do, all that you give, because I've completely received. And receiving is something that I myself have been always working on because I too am a giver.
Yes,
And
you
I
are.
have felt, but I felt like through, just it within your space and all that you've offered, I have just, you talked about the safe space. I also think it's a really comfortable and nourishing space
Thank
where
you.
you can just like completely let go and I know for myself just fully receive and then better recognize, who I am.
Yeah. Well, I knew that you would create your circle, and I'm so excited that you are because you are such an amazing teacher. And um, you're just it's just this is one more thing in your tool bag, your medicine bag, to help other people.
Well,
And
I appreciate it. And I do. And I also want to just anyone listening, it doesn't have to be through me, through Eileen, she talked about Janet, but like you said, Eileen, get a journal and just start writing, at
yeah,
night or maybe in the morning and just see what unfolds.
yes. Anna Quindlen just wrote a book.
Mm,
I don't know if I have it here. No, I don't. But of course, I think it's by my bed. But Anna Quindlen just wrote, I think it's called like Writing for Your Life.
mm,
And she is a writer who's written many books, and she just can't say not like how important it is to write, you know, daily, whether you write it just for yourself, or for others. Just it's such a transformative practice. Um, and gardening, I can't tell you enough. Gardening, if you can't even write, just get a rose bush and put it in a pot and just watch it and learn how to care for it. Um, it's the highest vibrational flower. I was also reading that many writers are gardeners, and I think they really complement each other. Gardening is a wonderful hands-on, tactile, you can see what you're creating. It's so rewarding. So
I also love with both of those is, so often in life, it's like we used the word earlier, like pushing, just pushing or forcing like the arrival, like to get there.
mhm,
But both with writing and with gardening, it's like all kind of this process, like this unfolding.
yeah,
It's not like if you put a seed in, it's not like the next day all of a sudden you've got the rose bush or the plant.
right. It teaches patience and trust.
Oh,
I mean, you're trusting. I remember just watching these seeds, okay, where did it work? Is it, I still do that, are they coming? I planted cosmos. I'm like, wait, where are they? Oh, I see one. Okay. But yeah, until they start to show, you're like, oh, when is it going to happen? So yeah.
wow, this has been so fun for me. I know for those listening to um, just this inspired conversation that we had together. And again, I just want to thank you for all that you give, for making time today to share.
Oh,
And I love you.
I love you.
So,
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
oh, thank you so
And
much.
look forward to seeing you soon in your beautiful family.
You will. And for everyone who'd like to be in touch, I'll have that information below.